Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. Today is Monday, August 2nd. I'm Stephanie Haney. Thank you for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. We start with important news that's impacting the entire country. The evictions that have been on a moratorium throughout the pandemic, well, that moratorium has come to an end. That came to an end on Saturday. So today, people who have fallen behind on their rental payments across the country and here in Ohio might be seeing eviction notices on their doors. That program expired on Friday. President Joe Biden had called on Congress to extend the moratorium. The deadline has been extended several times throughout the pandemic, but Democrats failed to get enough votes in order to extend that moratorium beyond that Saturday deadline. We do know that a lot of people have been impacted financially throughout the pandemic. $46 billion in federal aid was set aside to help tenants pay those rents, keep the roof over their head throughout the pandemic. So if this is you and you feel you may be at risk of being evicted, here's what you need to pay attention to. The first thing you need to know is you cannot immediately be thrown out of your home. It is a process. That process here in Ohio starts with a 3-day notice that will be posted on your door. Even then, it's a 3-day notice period where you have the ability to pay what you owe if you can. If you can't, your landlord might start a formal eviction process. Now, your landlord cannot change the locks on you, move the things out of your home on their own without a court order. That's the important part here. There will then be a process. Once the landlord moves into a court proceeding, it might be a couple weeks before you get a hearing about it, and then there might be a legal process after that. And while that entire process is playing out, you can stay in that rental. You can stay where you are. You cannot be forcibly removed. The landlord cannot do that on their own. So just make sure you know your rights. Now, 3 News reached out to the Cleveland Housing Network. That's an organization that's distributing the funds for Cleveland and Cuyahoga County of that aid that I mentioned just a moment ago that's been set aside to help people stay in their homes. And we were asking for the status of applications and an amount of money that's been distributed to date. 3 News couldn't get in touch with the network, Cleveland Mayor's office, or state leaders. But when we have that information, you'll be able to find it on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Now, something else that you may have seen a lot of are attack ads, because the race is heating up to see who will replace former Representative Marcia Fudge for Ohio's 11th Congressional District. That Democratic primary race and Republican primary race, that election will be tomorrow. So you may have seen some attack ads between Shontel Brown and Nina Turner, 2 of the top contenders for the Democratic ticket to hopefully be on the general election ballot to see who will replace the current Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Marcia Fudge. But you might be wondering what's true and what's not in those ads. So our 3 News investigative team has taken a look at that. Here's one example. There's a claim in a pro-Turner ad that Shontel Brown voted to give $32 million in taxpayer contracts to a company connected to her boyfriend and family. Our investigators found that to be partially true. Council voting records from 2017 and 2020 show that Brown was one of 11 council members who unanimously voted to award both a $7 million contract and a $3 million contract to the Perk Company. That money was to be used for, that contract was to be for resurfacing roads in Greater Cleveland. Now, in 2014, when Brown was running for council, she accepted a large campaign donation from Mark Perkins, who she was engaged to at the time. And Cleveland.com reported that she said if she were elected, she would recuse herself from county contracts with ties to Mark Perkins. So it's been rated as partially true because Brown did not recuse herself from those contracts. However, our investigative team could not verify a $32 million amount. Now, in looking at the ads, there was a harder time finding ads where Shontel Brown's campaign openly attacked Nina Turner's campaign, but our investigative team did evaluate a thirdway.org campaign ad. Here's a claim from a thirdway.org ad. What is Nina Turner really up to? Nina Turner is running as a Democrat, but really is not a Democrat, and our investigative team rated that false. Nina Turner is considered progressive. She's campaigned recently for former NAACP President Ben Jealous and U.S. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is a registered Democrat. She has been for decades. This is an attempt to paint her as someone who does not support the Democratic Party agenda. Again, this claim from thirdway.org, not a claim made from the Brown campaign. And when you look at these ads, you can tell at the end who's paying for them because it will say paid for by, and then you can see if the campaign paid for that ad or if it was a political action committee. Here's what you do need to know about that special election, though. Tomorrow is the primary election, so this means the Democrat that will be on the ticket in November and the Republican that will be on the ticket in November will be selected tomorrow. That voting opens Tuesday, August 3rd from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. and this will determine who will be on the general ballot in November to fill that 11th congressional district seat. Only people who live in the 11th congressional district can vote in this election. If you're not sure if that's you, we have a link at WKYC.com so you can see if you are eligible. It's a big race, the race tomorrow. There are 13 Democrats in the race, 2 Republicans. Again, there can only be one winner from either party who will then go on to be in that general election in November. Now, we do have sad news at the national level to reveal. Comedian Kathy Griffin announced today that she's been diagnosed with early stage lung cancer. She wrote about it on Instagram today, saying that the doctors are very optimistic. Now, if you remember back in 2017, she shaved her head in solidarity with her sister Joyce, who had been going through chemotherapy treatments. And for her own cancer battle, Kathy Griffin is expected to make a full recovery. She said, "It's been a heck of a 4 years trying to get back to work, making people laugh and entertain people." She says, "But I'm going to be just fine." In her post today, she did sort of nudge the public to remind them about the importance of getting vaccinated against COVID-19. She said, "Of course, I am fully vaccinated for COVID. The consequences for being unvaccinated would have been even more serious." And she reminded people, get your regular medical checkups. She wrote, "It'll save your life." We have an update on the Zanesville singer who is known as Nightbird, who was starting her journey on America's Got Talent. She's decided to put that on pause because her health has taken a bit of a turn. Now, her legal name, Jane Marks-Zuski, she goes by the stage name of Nightbird. She also announced this news early on Instagram today. Here's exactly what she said. "Since my audition, my health has taken a turn for the worse and the fight with cancer is demanding all of my energy and attention. I am so sad to announce that I won't be able to continue forward on this season of AGT. Life doesn't always give breaks to those that deserve it, but we knew that already." Now, she is from Zanesville, Ohio. She added that she'll be better soon. Here's a quote from her. "I'm planning my future, not my legacy. Pretty beat up, but I've still got dreams." Now, she had a very impressive performance early on in America's Got Talent. She got the golden buzzer from Simon Cowell, who is notoriously tough to please, and that was in an episode that aired several weeks ago. She had sung an original song titled "It's Okay," where she talked about the story of her life and how she is more than her cancer diagnosis. We are wishing Nightbird the very, very best and hope that she makes a speedy recovery through whatever turn she is in her journey. Now, as we continue to follow our local Olympians, Olmsted Falls native Kathy Najat is advancing to the pole vault finals at the Tokyo 2020 Summer Olympics. She advanced to the finals after competing today after a rain delay. So now she will compete next on Thursday, August 5th. That'll be 6:20 a.m. Eastern Time. There'll be 15 total athletes competing in the pole vault finals, hoping to get a gold medal. You'll be able to watch that at one of our streams at WKYC.com/Olympics. Make sure you watch out for that live coverage. And of course, then it will air on 3 News in prime time. Now, this is Katie's Olympics debut. She fell short of the 2016 games, placing 5th in the trials that year. This year, she had a career best pole vault at the trials of 16 feet, 2 3/4 inches. Katie, we are rooting for you, and we can't wait to see what happens on Thursday. And great news for Simone Biles. She will be competing in the finals for the balance beam at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. She withdrew from all of the other finals for which she qualified, which was all of them. The team finals, the individual all-around finals, also the vault individual, the uneven bars individual, and the floor individual. All events that she withdrew from because she's been dealing with the case of the twisties, where her brain is not in balance with her body and she's not able to control her movements as she otherwise would have been. But she did announce today, Team USA announced today, that she will compete in the balance beam individual. That's tomorrow morning, also early, 4:53 a.m. Eastern Time, 13 hours later in Tokyo. And we have to talk about some history being made at the Olympics by transgender weightlifter Laurel Hubbard, who finally got to compete. Now, Hubbard didn't compete long, but did compete with 3 lifts on Monday night, but wasn't able to get to the medal contender stage. Ultimately, that was won by China's Li Wenwen. Now, this New Zealander not the only transgender athlete competing at the Tokyo Games, but she has been out as transgender for years and has been the focus of attention as a medal contender in weightlifting. Here is what Laurel said. Of course, I'm not entirely unaware of the controversy which surrounds my participation in these games, and as such, I'd particularly like to thank the IOC, I think, for really affirming their commitment to the principles of Olympism and establishing that sport is something for all people. It is inclusive, it is acceptable. She also thanked the International Weightlifting Federation, saying they too have shown that weightlifting is an activity that's open to all of the people of the world. She thanked the people of Japan for hosting the games under extraordinary circumstances during the pandemic. And Hubbard, even though you didn't come home with that gold, still very much a winner, accomplishing an incredible feat today. And before we let you go here, there is another excerpt from my interview with The Bachelorette's Michael Allio on my 3 Things to Know podcast. He's saying why host Caitlin Bristow really threw him under the bus by asking him if he would want a second chance with The Bachelorette Katie Thurston, and then asking Katie if she would be open to giving Michael a second chance. Her response to that: it wasn't a yes. So if you want to hear what Michael has to say about that, you can listen to that full podcast, or you can watch it at wkyc.com/3 Things to Know. It's on every podcast platform. You can also just search for 3 Things to Know with Stephanie Haney, and it's on our WKYC YouTube page. That's it for your 3 News Now update today for Monday, August 2nd. I cannot believe we are in August, but we are here. I will see you next up with what's trending in Tokyo on What's New at 5 o'clock, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for more 3 News Now.